And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to a Lyceum evening coming to you from the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church. And we're down on the south coast of the UK. Very warm welcome to our wonderful guests tonight. Lovely. You know, you always write it Phil and Kerry, and I always say it Kerry and Phil.
Yep.
Should be ladies first, shouldn't it, Laurie?
Thank you, Kerry. So we have
Is
the wonderful.
Is this pick on Phil Day?
Yes, it's a new thing. Didn't you see the memo?
No.
Oh dear, never mind. We have the lovely Kerry McLeod and Phil Dykes. Good evening, both of you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening to you. Our pleasure, and hello to everyone out there.
Wonderful. Now, anybody on our Lyceum evening? These are evenings we have open discussions about things appertaining to spirit and spiritualism. We do start with a thread, but often things evolve, and that's absolutely fine. Because in this day and age, being able to talk about our religion, philosophy, however you term it, of spiritualism, is very invaluable. It's a very invaluable tool. And to hear others' thoughts. And you may not agree with some of the thoughts. And do you know what? That's fine. We're allowed. We're allowed that. So please join in with the conversation using the chat bars and whatever media you're watching us, whether you're on YouTube or our Facebook channels. But I'm just coming back to the lovely Kerry and Phil here. You are so busy. I love your post. I feel like I keep going on holiday about 10 times a year with you two. It's just magic, isn't it?
I don't know about holidays. I don't know about busy. We just do what we do. And we love it. We love it. We're very passionate about it. We have a mission that we want to fulfill, and we have that goal and that aim and that drive, and that passion from day one has never faltered with us. So we're quite fortunate.
We are busy. We do take rests. We're getting better at pacing ourselves now, but we love what we do. And what better way to spend your time than doing something you love?
Very true. Very true. People say to me here at the church, you're always working. And I said, well, it's not really work.
Correct.
It just happens. It unfolds. And if it doesn't go the way I thought it was going to, do you know what? That's fine. I did neglect to mention you are both reverends, are you not?
We are. Yes. Yeah. That took place last year.
Yeah, we did a couple of years of study with the Sarasota Centre of Light and also East Hamilton Spiritual Church as well. So that couple of years where we studied the Bible, looked at all kinds of different areas of spiritualism, spiritual, and it ticked all the boxes, and we thoroughly enjoyed that study.
It was really interesting because as part of the study, we had to look at other religious books as well, and other beliefs and understandings. And it helps us understand people that walk through our doors of a centre or a church or come for a reading. It helps us understand where they're coming from, some of the mindsets and the fears that they might have. And I think what's perhaps misunderstood is the pastoral role that a medium has, being able to assist somebody when they're grieving or when they're feeling lost or spiritually out at sea. That's the role of a medium as well, not just communicating with the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. Very true. And it's slowly, sadly, coming in now that within the religion of spiritualism, that we have to have an awareness. Well, we don't have to have. It's very simple. If you don't have it, then you're going to lead a very closed and unlived life. But an understanding of other religions, other ways of life, other schools of thought, and not be frightened by the challenge.
There's certainly something to be said for that. For spiritualism to move forward, I think it has to be aware of the other religions and thoughts out there and allow that single thread of belief and thought about God and about love and about a creative force to move through it. A lot of religions are really quick to undermine or neglect religions that are not of the same belief. But I think there's something to be gained from every religion that's out there if we look at the core of it.
And I also think that it is about personal development, about understanding where you fit into your divine law, to your spiritual laws, and also understanding what life is about. So we can talk about different religions, but also we want to look at self, that personal development, how we're growing, what we're learning, how we perceive and have a perception of life, and how we can be educated to different areas and different understandings that helps our own philosophy, helps our own growth of the mindset, and gives us a understanding of empathy and compassion to what maybe others are going through as well. So for me, it's a huge area of personal growth.
There's also the aspect, especially since the pandemic times, of communities being fractured, of interactions and relationships and family and friends being separated. And we're social beings. We like the company of others. And perhaps AI and the internet and these little things that we hold in our hands, it used to be telephones, and now they are computers that happen to be able to phone and text. In a way, they've distracted us from interacting with one another. So in this day and age, spirituality and contact and community becomes even more important for us to learn who we are and what we're doing here. It'd be so easy just to sit indoors and be entertained by the 6-second scroll and diminish our mental capacity, which is...
We lose so much time, don't we, I mean, you can go on for a quick browse, then 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour later, you go, where is the time gone? But actually, what is it doing to our brainwaves? What is it doing to our understanding? What is it doing to our reflections? Because we're living in a fast world. As Kerry said, 6 or 7 seconds scrolling of each video, it's rewiring the brain for short-term memory, a dopamine hit, all kinds of different things, where for us, we need something a little longer, a little bit more enthusiastic, something that's knowledgeable, that's something that will be educating. So I think it's about understanding where we are in life. And I think spirituality is moving at a fast pace of not always in the best way because of the lives we're leading, these physical lives on telephones. It doesn't give us a real sense of purpose, doesn't give us a real sense of reality and what's important in life. In fact, I think the COVID period did so much damage for us. In one way, it was really good because we were online, we were able to reach people in different ways. But I also think the other side of it is the damage it's done to people's mindsets, especially children that are now growing up, where they didn't have that human interaction. It was all computers and telephones and AI.
It takes 8 weeks to change the brain's format. So imagine if we were scrolling for 6 seconds, 8 weeks, many times a day. After 8 weeks, we wonder why we walk into a room and forget why we're there, regardless of your age. This is not age related. But we begin to lose the ability to focus for long periods of times. We were hearing on a medical podcast that filmmakers are actually doing films in small segments so that people can take a break without any commercials or intervals, because their brain won't focus for long periods. So we've toyed with this. Should we go into shorts? And we've decided to stay on the education side, to talk to people like what you're doing here, Laurie, to talk to people, to educate, to share something that's of value, that prompts them to perhaps make a tiny change in their life before it's all too late and we can't go more than 6 seconds without refreshing.
Yeah, it's refreshing to hear people saying this. As you know, when COVID struck, we were one of the first places to go online. Absolutely no regrets, because we made so many good friends, including yourselves, people that we probably never would have met had this online virtual experience come in. But I look at it today and it's become a little bit like a jumble sale of messages and fanciful things. And there isn't the engagement there. There isn't, it's... Please, anybody, if you're offended by this, I apologize, but it's not meant offensively. Tonight, there are, I looked it up, 42 demonstrations of mediumship online tonight. 42 hours. What is that teaching anybody? Not a lot.
I totally agree. 42 hours in the whole context of 8 billion people, it's not a lot, but actually it is. And it's more than that. It's not great. It's the standard that's out there. And I'm not, please don't think I'm shooting anybody down. There's some really good mediums out there. And there's mediums out there that haven't been working that long, that don't know what they don't know, and it's not their fault. But people are trying to do their best, and I understand that. So in a way, it's spreading the word in one sense, and it's getting out there. But for those people that actually build up the courage or have the curiosity to go to a demonstration, sometimes I wonder if they will ever come back because of what they see. Yeah. Was it good enough? Was there a meaningful message? Was the address meaningful in different ways? Was there some kinds of words that everybody could take away? Mediumship, yes, is good, but there needs to be an understanding. There needs to be a philosophy. There needs to be an empathy, a compassion, and there needs to be people that do this educated to everything that it can do about inspiring the living. And a lot of mediums forget that mediumship is about inspiring people to live their fullest life right now by that meaningful message that people have judgment on, but actually can change people's lives, that can pick them up from the floor and make them want to do better. And that's what mediumship is. But like every avenue, there is so much saturation of it, and I unfortunately, it's not always a good thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And as I say, anybody who's watching does engage with these things online, I'm pretty sure fully understand what's being said. So, quick hello to everybody. We've got a lovely Maggie Baker in, Matt Harris. Oh, we miss Matt. Is an absolutely wonderful healer and a lovely guy. Cat Goddess, she's in the room. Belinda, she's back in Florence. She's a little jet setter. Marion, hello, darling. So nice of you to join us. Lisa, LDJ. She just has a comment here. And I assume that's picking up on what we were just talking about. The spiritualism should always be an education. It should always be an experience. Mm-hmm. And it should have an educational quality to it. Yep. As a working medium, and yourselves working medium, have you ever experienced that was lovely, Phil and Kerry, thank you. Next week, we've got a really good medium.
You did that impression so well. He did. I think from what Lisa's just put there, I think that's the unfortunate side of what's taking place. And unfortunately, the education system's not out there. Yes, there's some good organizations out there that do wonderful education, but I think education needs to change. We see a lot of classes on training of practice, but there needs to be the philosophy. There needs to be the understanding and reflection of what's changing within them, what they've just learned from that contact. There needs to be an element of personal development in there. For me, it's not one of two things. They should both go together, but there should be a third element in there, which is called reflection and mindfulness. Because when we do a demonstration or a contact, private sitting, that power still sits with us, the residual energy, it sits with us for a period of time afterwards. We should reflect within it. What could I have done better? What did I learn from that moment? What else was in there that I didn't perceive at that time? That for me is healthy, because that plants new seeds of thought, interactions, not just within ourselves, but remember, mediumship's a two-way communication. Everything that we think, that we feel, that we're processing is going back to the spirit world. And there we can interact with them on a level, and we can change our mediumship. We can grow our mediumship. We can grow our spiritual understanding. And I think this is what really needs to change within the educational systems that I see today. There's more promotion of that personal development along with, because we always say that personal development and mediumship can't grow unless you grow yourself. And then we've got that healthy mix.
There's a trend happening, and it has been happening since way before the pandemic. But I think now it's got to such a level that it's become the norm. The free demonstrations of mediumship, the free readings. They're doing readings on TikTok. They're doing readings on Facebook, on Instagram. When we look at mediumship at the moment, we've got mediums who are, we're not going to go through what everybody tends to say, that it's diluted, that they go out too soon. We know that.
Yeah.
But we've got to look at how can we change that? Well, the only way we can change it is by attempting to deal with the addiction that is happening. And I say addiction because there's two. The first addiction is to social media, the scrolling. So being able to do things fast and in a different way to catch attention.
Was that where mediums are posting lots of things and people are getting wrapped up in it? It's what we call the smoke and mirrors. It's nothing like what it appears.
And the second addiction is attention. People want attention, so they're on there. That's the only reason that I would see any reputable medium giving up their time to do a demonstration of mediumship for free. If the mediumship is worth anything, then even a donation to a charitable organisation puts value on the medium's time, on the organizer's time, and on the spirit world's effort as well. We have to look at people's need for attention should be dealt with before they ever get into the public eye, not satisfied through being in the public eye. And I know it's a little bit controversial, but we have to go back to what is driving people to want to be in the public demonstrating mediumship, when it's firstly not at a standard it should be, because if it were, they'd be putting value on that. I've never done a demonstration of mediumship where the public has had to make no charge, no payment. Most of the demonstrations, the payment has either, even in churches, we give the money back to the church, or if it's online, we donate it to a charity of the organiser's choosing, or indeed give it back to the organiser. And if it comes to us, it goes to a charity that we choose. We can't continue to do this poor level of mediumship for free, because it is lessening the value. The minute it's done for free, people have to question what's their motivation. If it's not money and it's not representing the spirit world with a high level of mediumship, then it has to be something else. And that something else usually is driven by the medium. And the public can't be expected to know. I will get off my soapbox in a little bit.
I'm keeping quiet.
The public are not meant to know any different. The reason we did, I know we're going to get to it, the film was to try and educate the public as to what they should be expecting, because the public are becoming more aware of mediumship, but not really necessarily coming in contact with mediums that are giving them the right example or signposting them to the right place. I'll stop now.
I think you made a comment there about
Did you just
people.
picture, Philip?
No, he didn't.
No.
I stopped of my own accord.
Yes, true. If you pay me more, I'll stop her anytime you want.
Okay.
No, I'm only joking. No, I think when Kerry mentioned about mediums getting attention, there was a lecture, I'm trying to remember who it was by. I think it was Simon James who said, it was a few years ago now, if mediums had to demonstrate behind a screen so they wouldn't be seen, I wonder if there were still as many mediums today be working, if they weren't getting the attention. And to me, when I heard it, it sort of washed over me. But now I think it hits more relevance today, where everyone's trying to be seen, getting cards printed, getting the name medium behind the name, all these things. Well, there's a dedication, there's a knowledge, there's an experience that we've got to accrue over many, many years to have that label. And unfortunately, with that label now, we don't exactly know what we're going to get when we book these people. So I think that for some way there has to be some kind of testing or evaluation. I'm all for that. How that looks, I don't know, but I'd love to be part of a panel that is starting to look at that. That'd be really good. We've been part of the ethics and committee panel as well, where we've given our values, our understandings, and to them to say this is what we work to. I hope it helps, and they've taken little bits out of it.
We now do have a code of ethics and standards out there. We can provide you the link if you want, Laurie, to share that with people. We put in our own standards of ethics, and some of that has made it in. It is lengthy and it is quite prescriptive, but it's very good.
Yeah,
very thorough.
Anything like that is educational, and it's worth its weight in gold. Because for far too long now we've been focused on the phenomena of evidential mediumship. And like you both quite rightly said earlier, you know, people coming into the movement today are they can be very easily put off by just spending a couple of hours online and drifting between a few, you know, demonstrations and just think, well, is that it? No, it's not. It's not. Anyway, quick hello to a few people again. Lovely Julie Caswell. Elaine Watt, good evening. How are you, darling? Lisa follows up again. It's become ego-based for me. That wasn't what it was about. Very true. Leslie, still in hospital, darling. I am sorry. I don't know, I'm more sorry for you or your nurses. 50-50 at the moment. But yeah, you know, Leslie, you know I'm joking. Yeah, thoughts out for you, darling. Hopefully you will be out very soon. Stacey is joining us from upstate New York. Penny Chester Riley. I don't think anything can replace in-person, face-to-face readings. It feels much more personal. That's really true, isn't it? Because I remember years ago there was a thing about 97% of an interaction is non-verbal. Yeah. So, yes.
Penny, we know Penny very, very well. So it's a hello, Penny, out there.
She's in the heat, although it might be a bit cooler over there.
O'Keefe Johnson, thanks for bringing this to light.
Kip as well. Hello, Kip.
And Stacey, fame and popularity. I don't even tell people that I'm developing. I have no interest in being out there. That's not the purpose for me. And that's really good to hear. Do you know what is a really good question? Why are you a medium?
It is.
The reason that's such a good question is because the answer will continually change.
It will. What's really interesting, if you take out all the common answers, such as you want to help people, you want to heal people, you want to
help them grieve.
If you take all those answers, then ask that question, then that's an interesting
the one question people will come to when they're at their lowest point. In fact, we're doing a series of classes at the moment, and in the one on Friday, people were talking about the dip. So we were outlining about, you know, after that moment where it's everything's sparkly and new and everything's a something and it's lovely and it's giddy and it's spiritual. And then you hit the dip and you have to ask yourself, well, why am I continuing this? At that point, everybody has to check in with themselves. Why am I doing this?
It's that old adage, when you fall over and graze your knee, what is it that makes you stand up again, brush your knee off and carry on? Helping people, inspiring people doesn't cut it when you're in pain and you're going through a difficult time and you're going through self-limiting beliefs and there's triggers being going off in you left, right and centre. There has to be some kind of personal motivation. For me, it was one of two things. First of all, it was what I was learning when I was doing readings. In other words, when I delivered a contact, how it resonated with me, what I learned from it, how it was affecting me. Then also afterwards, it was the growth that was stimulated, the philosophy from it. That's what kept me going. It was about nurturing. One of the biggest things for a human being to do is to grow. We love it. We love growing. We love progressing. And for me, it's one of the most personal aspects of being a medium is the growth, seeing it, understanding it, learning new things, gaining new insight into different cultures, different religions, different understandings, and how some people live their life with their perceptions. For me, that is fascinating. And it helps me understand the bigger spiritual truths of what life is really about.
I think there's, when we talk about being with the spirit world and developing and training and learning, we had an interesting comment from a student just in the week that's finished saying that, were we with the spirit world when we were teaching? Are we with the spirit world when we're teaching? And I understand the question, but I had to be careful how I answered it. And I ended up answering it in the way I'm going to share with you now. Not every medium tutor does. Some tutors deliver the same class because they understand the script. They've done it tens and tens and tens of times before. They know it offhand, whether it's face-to-face or in person. It is genuinely the same course again and again. The spirit world is not present with the tutor to inspire, to make it personal to the students that are there, to make it relevant to the current day, to make it relevant to the changes that are happening in the world. When Phil and I are teaching, the spirit world are always with us. We're always connected to them, not in terms for communication, but in terms of keeping it relevant. Look at what's happening in the world with needing all different ways to share what we're understanding. We know that we were recording a podcast recently, and we were talking about AI and the short attention span that people have, and how do we bridge that gap when we are reaching out to people over social media? Do we go down the 6-second route, quick, short, or do we maintain the longer educational? Well, I think we're going to have to stick with what we've been doing, which is the longer educational, because if we catch the people with 6-second attentions, what are they going to learn? And are they just going to come back as a 6-second gap filler? Are they really interested in what we can share with them? Because we can't really do much in 6 seconds.
I think we changed our classes and our weekly classes as well as the monthly workshops to incorporate personal reflection, personal development, theories and understanding. So it's not all about practice. That, as I said earlier, that's only part of it. But we need to instill these questions, this philosophy, this understanding, because that gives you the healthy promotion of growth. And one in particular of the classes, the Wednesday mentoring group, is where we take a subject each month and we break it down. So for instance, in March, there's 5 weeks. So each week we break that one subject down and we go in depth with it. They get to practice, they get a 20-minute, 30-minute lecture, they get it explained, we demonstrate it, they ask questions of it, then the practicing, because we want people to be educated. We don't just want them to turn up and do an exercise and say, that's it, you've got it now. We want it to become their own. We want them to learn. We want them to question everything that they do, because we know that's healthy when it comes to progression of spiritual development, mediumship development, psychicism. The more that we can do this, then we're not just teaching people, we're educating people for the future to keep our learnings alive that have kept us going and promote others. It's the only way. You used a word before, Laurie, and I nearly jumped on it when you said the movement. It's a big thing for me. Watch Kerry's face, because when people say the movement, I turn around and say, what movement? Where is it moved to? What is it actually doing? Is it going out and drawing new people in? Somebody mentioned spiritualism the other day, and I went into my own little space, and he said, are you still listening? And I said, I am. I said, but when you mentioned spiritualism, I think of years gone by when Gordon was here and people of that character and knowledge, that they were going out, bringing people from the general into the churches. And I don't see that today. And it's one of our big
They're going
missions.
from the churches as quick as they can out into the public for attention.
And it's one of the big things behind the film that's just behind us is why we agreed to do it. Because in the beginning, we said, no, we don't want to do it. It's a little bit egotistical. We were very uncomfortable with it. Then Robert turned around and said, well, actually, I want to tell the story about mediumship, about people learning, the grief. And yes, you will be in it and you'll be the main subjects. And we went, okay, then as long as the spotlight is on mediumship, the spirit world. And true to his credit, he's done a wonderful job. And there's 3 stories within that one story itself. Yes, there's our story. Yes, there's the story of grief, and if you haven't watched it yet, do have some tissues for the end. And also, you've got the educational side of people developing, seeing demonstrations, understanding the philosophy, but also the interactions of recipients of what it does for them as well. So that was one of the really good things he's done with it. And when he explained it to us, we were like, well, we can't really see this, but it sounds okay. But when we started to see it, it's incredible. Really
I know
incredible.
it says it's on Apple, but it's now available on Tubi.
Tubi, Relay, Fathom, lots of different things, streaming services in the background, and Apple you pay for, but the rest are free, I think. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So this is the film that you've released for a lot of people who may not be aware, and it's called Evidence of the Afterlife. And it's available on all those platforms, and please post a link to us. That would be great. We will talk about that a little bit more in depth. There's some really nice comments coming in. There's a right, although it says Mr. Ooks, there's a following comment saying this comment was from Cher, SHER.
Okay, I know that person.
Do you know this person?
Yes, she's from Canada.
And he's brought up something actually that I've had to deal with very recently. And we're not going to dwell too long on this topic, but yes, there are people out there who will charge hundreds and hundreds of pounds, dollars, whatever your currency is. I always say to people, if you need help, go to your nearest church or centre. And I do realise places like America that may be hundreds of miles away, but online you are in instant communication. I had to deal with a wonderful old couple. The wife is very advanced dementia. The gentleman's doing a sterling job keeping everything together. And they were charged in excess of £900 for somebody to remotely remove the dark shadow that's living in their attic, unquote.
So that's about $1,400 US.
I know.
Get in touch with me. I'll do it free.
I know.
Do you know how many requests you're going to get now?
True.
Yeah, sadly, this does go on.
We had a number of experiences with this in a number of different scenarios, and I'll cover maybe 2. We had 2 of our students, pre-COVID and during COVID, study with us and then leave and charge at that point $300 US per half-hour reading, which is way more than we charge. And when COVID hit, they added on an emergency charge.
Have you ever seen an explosion of dynamite? That was me. I could not believe what they were sending us and telling us they were doing, and we quickly just disowned them straight away, because that for us is
have
just
nothing to do with it.
No morals whatsoever.
And then we've got the emails from people who say, I've had a private reading, it's done, and what they do is they explain the amount of damage and trauma it's caused them. They're not asking for a reading, but what we do is we get back to them and we have a chat with them and just confirm that, unfortunately, what they've been given is an piece of nonsense at a very, very high price. And it's scaring people. Predictions and illnesses, it's scaring people.
We have an ethical guarantee that we have a 10-minute rule. If it doesn't work in the 10 minutes, and let's be honest, we know well before that if it's working or not. And yes, every medium, I don't care who you are, has a good day and a bad day. And if it's not up to par, we should be honest and say, I've done readings that have not been up to par, and straight away I've stopped them and said, and I think with the very first time I had COVID, I had real problems saying no to people. And I did this reading, and afterwards I just sat there and I said, look, I can't, I said, I can't think what I've said. I'm not willing to say, and I said, look, I'll give you a full refund. I said, because I can't even remember what I've said, because I was in such a state illness. So I think that if you're going to go out there looking for a reading, make sure they have that 10-minute guarantee, 5-minute guarantee, whatever it is, that if it's not gelling with you, and you have the permission to say, I'm really sorry, I'm not linking with this, it doesn't make sense to me, what you're saying is not correct. You have the power to say that and say, no, can we stop? Refund, reschedule, whichever.
Yeah. And I will just bring in as a foil here, although tonight we are talking about spiritualism, spirituality and mediumship, this sort of behavior is being reflected in all sorts. I mean, anybody on social media, you drink this and you're going to grow 10 inches. There's just, wherever there is need, there is always going to be the feeders. And normally the feeders are the ones after the buck. It doesn't matter if it's a reading, your personal health, your mental health, your relationship status, your sexuality. There is always going to be that people out there who want to make a fuss.
Absolutely.
Correct.
Yep.
So where are we? Penny Chester, Riley. Is there a need for an international board of ethics and standards for mediumship and psychic work where the public can trust, knowing that they are trusted those who do the work?
I don't believe there is one single international board of ethics and standards. What we're going to provide you with, Laurie, is a copy of the one that we were contributors to. It is optional for organisations to take it on. It is lengthy, as we said. What we would love to be part of is be part of an international organisation that did have a board of ethics and standards. The difficulty we have is monitoring that and managing that. I know there are platforms out there that offer free readings or professional readings at a charge, but it's not monitored. The way that people can feedback and can pay or not, they're too intrinsically linked for my liking. For I've got to be very careful about how I put this. People shouldn't have to pay if they don't want to give a review, or vice versa. So it would be lovely to have a group of mediums that actually wanted to work together, and we're happy to get together with any other mediums within this planet to come together to find a standard of ethics and morals for mediums and psychics to be able to deliver different kinds of mediumship. We're not, I know you're dying to talk there, dear. We're not just talking about evidential mediumship. We're talking about psychic readings. We're talking about trance readings. We're talking about healing, trance. they're all different elements of mediumship can come under this umbrella. And wouldn't it be lovely if we had a universally international standard for everybody to be willing to be part of? That'd be a dream.
It would be a dream. I have one caveat for it, though. I would like it to be run by no religion, no spiritualist organization. I would like it to be run by ethical, moral business people that have ethics and code of conduct, where they have
different businesses have different.
They do, but in the right way. I don't know how it would be done, but in the right way. So it's not a case of jobs for the boys or the girls or anything like that, or your face fits. It is through an ethical standard. One of the biggest things for me, the dangers of mediumship, is mediums that are untrained and uneducated, calling themselves mediums. It's no secret, myself and Kerry are ICF accredited coaches, and we are part of the International Authority of Coaches and Mentors, and we're fellows of that. We've studied to a high degree. Kerry's got a diploma in psychology and other things. For me, we need some kind of organization like that has strict regimes and understandings and trainings that people have to go through, not just to fit a religion or a club or an organization, but as something bigger, that there is internationally recognized standards that people say they've been ethically trained and got those principles to, that they have to keep up X amount of hours of training.
But it requires for something to happen.
Which we're on the verge of. Well, we're getting there.
As well as that, it requires for something to happen. It requires for tutors of mediumship to work together.
Correct.
To actually come together and realize that the future of evidential mediumship is at stake here, which is why we did the film and why it's called Evidence of the Afterlife, Saving Evidential Mediumship. Why does it need saved? Well, we explain that in the film, but it requires tutors of mediumship from Christian spiritualists, from non-spiritualist spiritual churches to come together and work together. And that might be the sticking point. We're up for it. If there's anybody else out there up for it, let's start the ball rolling. You know, no moss grows on rolling stones.
That's what our website guy says to us, because we never sit still.
We never sit still. He says, really? You're changing again?
Yes.
But it's possible if people will work together. But in this day and age online, people are out for themselves, and it's a sad state of affairs. We're willing to work together. Let's see what your platform can start, Laurie.
Wonderful. I was going to touch on that. One of the biggest challenges we face is the fractionalism within. We have the various organizations. Everybody out there knows where we're talking about and whatever, and this doesn't suit because of this, and that doesn't suit, or oh, I like that bit, but I don't like, you know, in and through our mediumship, no matter how that manifests, whether it be evidential, trance, inspiration, doesn't matter. There is always going to be that uniqueness, that individualism, because it is that purely personal contact between you, spirit, your spirit, and the spirit in front of you. And that is always going to be unique and individual. But a thread there, and I thought that's quite interesting, was these code of conducts, because there was something on recently, and I think it was Jennifer Rose. Apologies if it wasn't. But they were talking to somebody who has also brought out a code of conduct. Now, I thought, as a baseline, if the code of conduct could be adopted by people. So if there was a one-stop shop, for want of a better word.
I think we might have been on the same presentation, Laurie.
I think you were. Yes, I think you were.
Mm-hmm.
And to just put this code of conduct out, and these people are signed up to adopt that code of conduct.
Yep.
At least that's the starting point of people are actually.
It's the adoption point is a starting point, correct? It's the monitoring and managing the standard that's a difficult part. Anybody can say, yeah, I'll do the 10-minute rule and I'll do this and I'll do that. But how do we know the mediums are actually doing what they need to do? When I've studied for a degree in psychotherapy, I had to go through supervision and retain that supervision in order to retain my accreditation with the governing body I'm part of. Mediums don't have to do that, but they should.
They should.
Yeah.
They should have to put in a recording of a reading once every so often to maintain their accreditation of whichever body they're part of.
Yeah, that's very good. My mind was going down the mystery shopper route.
Well, that is, we have something like that with our own students. They don't know about it, but we do. It's possible.
I did do that. I'm trying to worm out of it, but I'm not going to, because I did do that. We recently attended a very big event, and our healers were there, and I made that point and time of talking to people who have received healing and just checking that, you know, the procedure had been followed. And I was so pleased, from the longest serving healer to the newer healers, every single one of them followed that procedure, the introduction. Have you had healing before? What you may expect, what you may feel. Are you okay if I put my hands on you? The introduction, of course, the first thing. Yeah. And everybody had done it. And I was pleased as punch. I really was. I was just like, that is cracking.
It is. It's absolutely superb. We visited a place in a different country, and we went to a church and they were doing healing. And I didn't have healing, but I was so uncomfortable for the people doing, because their hands were all over. They were doing all kinds of strange things. And afterwards, we were invited. And I just said, I'm really sorry. No, it's not for me. I'm not feeling that I need that.
We don't get a healing whilst we're working anyway, but that's normally our get out clause.
Yes. But yeah, but it was just so uncomfortable, and we tried to talk to them afterwards and say, look, is there not procedures and protocols you're going to? And they said, oh no, we just let them go. And I just thought, oh, it's not good, not good.
No. There was a crossover when I first came to Paul. There was this crossover between spiritual healing and Reiki healers. And of course, the Reiki healers would snap into their training and work through all the median points, all through the body, right down to the feet. Somebody had healing who knows what they're talking about. And I said, how was it? And they went, I thought the fact the healers kneeling on the floor in front of me was very demeaning for them. And I thought, you know what, you're right. You know what? And then post-COVID, we came up with a way to limit the contact. So the healers are trained hands on the shoulders, stood behind. So it's limiting that, you know, breathing and coughing over each other. They don't do that, by the way. But it works. Wonderful Danielle from Holland, she gave a healing course here, and I loved it because she just sits next to you and puts a hand on the shoulder. And I love that. You know, this here, there, and everywhere is, I think it disrupts the healer's flow.
It does, and it disrupts the power that the recipient is sitting within as well.
True. Yeah. That was one of the things, actually, after each healing, when we visited this church, they were giving messages straight after. I thought, what is happening here? You're meant to be letting that healing pass through.
You're using the healing power for doing
readings. It's like, that's not correct.
I did have a question once, and they said, why is it, you know, it's frowned upon that healers giving messages? And I said, well, the day you see a demonstrating medium come down off the platform and start giving somebody healing halfway through the service, then we'll review that point.
Yes.
Anyway, they've been very active in the chat box, which is absolutely wonderful. Now, one day I am going to be arrested. Okay. Lawrence will end up in custody somewhere. And I can guarantee you it will be because I was in the company of this lady. So, so we keep meeting on marches. I love Geraldine. And she's just saying, hi, loving this so far. I was thinking when we go to a church, it's not just the medium that the experience, but also those who are running the church that leads to a good experience or bad experience. What teaching do those who run churches get? Very pertinent point.
Mm-hmm.
We are the baseline of many people's first introduction to the philosophy, religion, whatever, of spiritualism. We are that introduction. And I know through conversations with people, we've got accounts of the chair people sat there counting up the money during the dem because they need to catch up with their bookwork, or allowing improper behavior of the mediums, because this is a thing, isn't it? You know, there's a lot of chair people, and I agree, Geraldine. And how do we put that right? How do we put that right? That chair people need a code of ethics. There we go, code of ethics.
They need taught, Laurie.
They need taught.
Exactly.
So can I share a couple of little stories that have happened to me? I mean, we serve a lot of churches, and we love the churches, and they're great. And yes, there's one or two that could be run better, and that's as far as I go. One of the experiences I had that rattled me to my core was when I went for the first time, and the president greeted me, and I thought, great, fantastic, made to feel welcome. But in the next breath, she said, do you believe in the spirit world and mediums? And I was really taken back by it. And I was saying, well, obviously I'm here, I'm a working medium. And this president went on to say, well, I don't. And I thought, okay. And I thought, that's different and it's unusual. Then the booking secretary came to me of the same church and said, I'm the booking secretary, introduced herself. Again, great, really warm welcome. Then similar question, do you really believe? And I thought, what am I doing here? If this is the people running the church, and that's an extreme. I've had other things, and I'll probably put that in a book one day. But there's been other things, and it's really made me question why some people are running churches, why they're opening the doors. What is it exactly they want? I've been to all kinds of different organizations, from charities, and they've been spectacular. But what is it about people's mindsets? I understand people can question, they can have doubt, they can go through dips, but to be greeted. So I think there is a real education needed within some churches to how to conduct themselves and really to create that atmosphere that a medium is going to be working in, that it needs to be conducive to what's about to happen.
And you probably do the same, Laurie. I used to be involved in a church in Scotland, and there was rigorous training for people that were chairing, for people that were doing the reading, for those that were welcoming the medium, for those that were providing the medium with their snack afterwards, looking after the medium, welcoming the people into the door. We had training on that, and you got...
Can I jump in there just for a second? I know you're going to kill me for jumping in and interrupting you. The very first time I went to Dunfermline Ass, where Kerry was the president of, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. The way
you met me.
Not just because I met you, that was before. But actually,
nice save, Phil. Nice save.
Exactly. I'm really good at that. But actually, the way I was treated, the way that I was chaperoned in, the way that I was looked after, the way that I was fed, the way that I was sat with and talked to, given my space, then told exactly what was about to happen, and even being brought out to the rostrum. And then as they sat me down, they invited me to sit, it was phenomenal. I had my eyes wide open at that point because how well you train people. It was really, really good. It made a huge difference. So sorry for interrupting. This is where I get my...
Yeah.
I'm taken aback by that.
Yeah, I've told you that before, actually.
I think there is a lot of scope there, and I wish some places would sort of like think about this at least. The best chair people can be their mediums.
Mhm.
Because we do the job, don't we? We go out, we go here, we go there. It's become very much a thing. I think it's partly age and partly experience of I choose where I take my mediumship.
Absolutely.
Correct.
And
that
we're
is
exactly
not
the same.
arrogant. That isn't an arrogant statement.
If we look at the amount of time it takes to build our mediumship to where it is, would we take something that was precious to us and batter it about in a place that was dangerous or bumpy? We wouldn't. So why should we take something like our mediumship and our sensitivities and our humility into a place where it's not going to be welcomed and looked after and cared for and nurtured and protected from the massive congregation that all wants part of the medium until the medium's ready and then says farewell to them? That's the decent thing and the minimum a church or a centre should be able to do for a visiting medium. They've given up their time instead of the medium turning up. I've turned up before and gone, and the person has literally gone, "You the medium? Well, you're in there then. We'll give you a call when we're ready." And they've literally called me onto the platform from the other end of the hall.
Come in, number 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on. I mean, the experiences, I look back and I laugh at now.
We could write a book.
We could write a book on it. I mean, one of them I went to, and it was quite obvious the medium was the last thing on their minds. And when I entered, I was just looked at and stared at, not spoken to. When I was invited to do the prayer, I had to remind them to turn ABBA off. Then when I started, I heard one of the congregation, "I'm not here to listen to this SHIT." And I'm like, wow, ladies and gentlemen, did I hear that properly? And then I turned to the chairperson, and literally I had a 2-foot square space to stand in. So as I turned one way, my backside was in the person's face. And as I turned the other way, the other thing was in, and it was like, no, this is just beyond ridiculous. But I mean, I refused at that point. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to work for the spirit world. I would like to do that." And I was heckled because I did a divine prayer in a divine service. And I thought, this is not right. And I declined the service. And I've never gone back there. So I learned in a few ways, the hard way of going through things. Please, may I just put out there, not all churches are like that. Not at all. It's just been an extreme few cases that seem to just happen to me.
That one in Poole is lovely, though.
I believe so. I believe so. Never had the chance of working there yet.
So you managed a couple of hours.
Oh, you were ill. That's
I was ill. I was doing the workshop for
again.
A couple of hours.
He was ill again.
Yes, true.
You managed a couple of hours, Phil, before
I did.
We went for a phase of people coming to Poole and end up in hospital, and I'm going, "It's not my cooking. It's not my cooking. Seriously, it's not my cooking." Catch up on some of the comments here. Thank you everybody for joining in. Caroline's just saying hi.
Hi, Caroline.
Lisa, there we go. Brilliant home-hitting film.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy Lomax agreeing there with Geraldine Stormfield. Committee is just as important as the experience of those attending. Yeah, and I've often said we as a organisation, shall we say, really is past time we looked at the structure of our committees and the demands that we're placing, because we often see people just put into slots because there's nobody else.
Oh, we've known that many a time.
Yeah. So if you haven't got enough people to make up a committee, then maybe the committee rigours is too much for your church, and maybe you need to change it. How wonderful. Lisa, LDJ, is there an online healing guide from someone like yourselves, please? Locally isn't good here.
We have a healing, as in how to deliver healing, we have a healing guide that was built out of a healing course that we've got, I suppose we could share that. It's a bit lengthy though, but we could provide that. It is just ours though, so
apologise for being thorough.
Yeah. It's not, it doesn't have any organisation at the moment behind it, but we are looking at getting it accredited.
Yes.
Yep.
Did you say the accredited word then?
Accredited.
Yes.
Yeah. No, anything like these all the things we've been discussing tonight, they are useful for people because we should be in the market for education.
Yes.
And deliver these things. If they stick, great. If they don't stick, great. But we do what we do, and we can't make people adhere. We can't make people agree. But at least it starts the conversation. At least it gets people thinking. Well, I don't agree with something. Okay, so why don't you agree with it? Let's get this ball rolling. Comment here. I think this is about the Paul Church. Bloke in charge is a bit dodgy.
Couldn't agree more.
Do you know, there's some dodgy people out there. Laurie is probably one of the good dodgy ones. Because there is a good dodgy because he's straight up and down. He says it like it is. He doesn't hold any graces.
We've had some great conversations whilst Phil was in hospital, Laurie. You and I had some fantastic conversations.
Yeah, but again, you need people that have a backbone that are going to stand up for what is right, what is true, what is proper. And I think that's very much needed today in every walk of life, the way that the world is turning.
And it's keeping... Somebody said something. I'm going off track a little bit here, but please, allow me. It's my age. I was talking about my concerns for somebody who's fairly new to the movement, and I can see already it's like vultures circling this person, and I'm like, I want to jump in there because I can see what's going on, and I don't know if this person can see this. That was the basis of it. And somebody just said in comment, because I said, what do? Do I jump in there? Do I grab them and say, I think we need to talk because... And they said, well, that's typical of you because that's your dad energy coming out. And I went, what do you mean, my dad energy? And they said, no, that's what your energy is. You've got the energy of a dad. And I'm like, oh, ridiculous. And I repeated it to somebody and I said about it and they went, yeah. No, what do you mean? And then somebody else had heard it and went, yeah, that's right. That's your energy. I said, I'm sorry. When was somebody going to tell me this? I've got a comment here. Lovely Tim. Tim, long time. I had the most bizarre dream about you the other day.
I don't think you should go there, Laurie.
Share that, Laurie.
Nearly 9 o'clock. I think I can share it. You dropped me at a railway station. I believe it was Stafford railway station. I was going to do a service at a church. And you dropped me at the station, and I was stood in this railway station. I didn't know what church I was going to, what station I needed to go to. I was in this absolute, and I woke up in a cold sweat. So thanks for that, Tim. Anyway, whilst I agree that churches should be run at a certain standard, I think it's important to remember that most churches are run by volunteers.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep. And having been involved with a spiritualist church from 2004 to 2022, we know that the volunteers are there, but it still needs strong leadership and it needs people who can give good training. I think there is an element with committees where they're trying to make do and not necessarily getting the training or support that's needed. And for whatever reason, I completely agree with you, Tim, but for whatever reason that training isn't there, people are either leaving and not doing the work to upskill and to empower the future committees, because our churches are run by people generally who are our age or a little bit older. There are some that have people who are younger than us, but it's really important that we empower our committees and train them. So this training for chairing, for secretary, for treasurer, is really, really important, because without the volunteers, the churches are going to stop.
Yeah, I was quite fortunate. I've been on a couple of committees for churches and a district council as well, where I was educated, I was trained, I was told how to do things, I was working alongside somebody, and I think that's really spoilt me for how things should be done. And I think if there was some kind of championing scheme or some kind of educational system within those churches to help people understand, whether it comes from people or whether it comes from organisations, like a handbook to follow, and I'm sure there are handbooks, if I remember correctly.
Well, some organisations have the rule book.
Yes, the rule book, but I think the one I was involved with had their own book of how to educate, and I think that is phenomenal. But yeah, I never forget that people turn up, and some of the lovely people I've met over the years that have come to open up the church, I think my heart goes out to them, and I think you can hardly put two steps together. You should be at home taking it easy, but they're dedicated to their belief, their faith, and I think that is absolutely wonderful.
Look at that church we turned up to, was it December? And the lady who was president, but she isn't now, could barely walk and had got out her bed to come along.
Yes, it was really, really nice. That's what I mean. There are people out there that are dedicated and doing their absolute best. Please don't think by any of the comments we've made that we've been derogative. We're not. We've had some extreme experiences, but we are very grateful for the education, the tutoring, everything that we've got instilled from us from the churches, because that's the background, the roots of us. And we still turn up to churches dedicated to them because we want to give back what was given to us.
Mm-hmm. And yes, I agree totally, because I'm very fortunate. I've got fantastic pool of volunteers I can call upon here for various duties and everything. At the end of the day, that job needs doing, and if we can't cover it adequately and professionally on a volunteer basis, do we look at going down, say, the American route, where we actually pay people to do these jobs?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, absolutely. And Tim just come back with a comment here. You dream about me whenever you want, mate. How often you want, just remember we're on completely different trains.
That's a polite way of putting it.
How very dare you.
It's a very clever response.
I think there's a challenge for you there, Laurie.
I woke up in a panic. This was horrible, horrible. I'm never sleeping in the afternoon again. Maggie, how can I get hold of the film that you have produced, please? We will post the links in here. And also, it will be shown here on the rally weekend, Maggie.
It will be.
It will.
So you can come and see it live here.
True, and you can have the subjects all in person as well.
You can throw rotten tomatoes at us.
Yes, true. Am I right in thinking you've got the wonderful Nick Witham as well?
Yes.
For that weekend? Aha, he did mention it. It's good.
Stephen Meager.
Yes. Ah, okay.
Yes, you will love Stephen, I guarantee you. Yeah, so that is going to be exceptional. And I've got you two back in my cup. Please try and stay with me this time, Phil.
You will try. You will try. So for Maggie Baker, there is, if you go to either Fathom TV or Tubi or Apple TV,
Relay TV. We'll put a link. We'll put a link. It's the best link.
You'll be able to get it in there.
Okay, wonderful. If we put the link,
it hasn't yet. It's almost on Amazon Prime, but it hasn't yet made it through the process.
The subsidiaries like Relay and things like that of Amazon, they've got it. Then it goes to.
Yeah. So Lisa here, that would be amazing, Kerry, regarding the healing guide. Thank you. And yeah, as I say, all these guidances, if people proudly say, I adopt it and put it on your advertising, I adhere to this set of protocols, that's going to start installing some sort of a confidence.
Mm-hmm. But what we need to clarify, Laurie, is that we're not providing this in order to say that people are accredited with us.
Correct.
What we're doing is providing an outline that if they wish to adopt it as their own, they should feel free to. They can't use our names or organisation's names with it.
Fair enough. Fair enough, thank you. Leslie Thomas from a hospital bed, bless her heart. She's saying, in agreement with you all both, try that again, in agreement with all you have both said this evening, and of course you, Laurie, thank you. Sadly, it's the lack of high standards, education, commitment, dedication to spiritualism that we are now on that slippery slope. So sad. Yeah, and it's when we talk about the education, it's so important that the education doesn't solely compromise the mechanics of mediumship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is some good really good education systems out there, without naming. There really is, and they are brilliant in what they're trying to do. I think when we say it's a slippery, sad slope, we have to be really honest. If we go to the recordings of Leslie Flint, and I think it's Estelle Roberts, I think in 1976, please tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right with that date, or maybe later, where she states the state of spiritualism, even back then, and we're 50 years on, and we're still on that slope. So there needs to be change. There needs to be, and I agree with what Kerry said earlier. It just needs a few of us. You're welcome. I'll get paid later, no doubt. Something to eat or something, because I'm starving. If a few of us get together and start something, then that's the hard bit. That's the first step. Often with things of change, it's just the first step. So if we can get the first step, I mean, Laurie, I've said to you, Stevie, Trolland and others, we should get together and do a seminar or something, but we can equally start something like this where we can get many people coming together to work.
If we can get a group of mediums willing and tutors willing to come together without the worry of stealing each other's students or stealing each other's material.
Students stealing each other's students. Let's be honest about this.
Then the spirit world might stand a chance of good training being passed on beyond those tutors who are in their 40s and 50s now. In 70 and 80 years, who's going to be delivering the training? What sort of training's been left for 2 generations behind us?
Yeah, we're starting up a program here this year, Legacy, and that was inspired when I got the name Legacy, and I went, "Oh, am I dying? Is it my time?" But it's all about personal development, and I've actually said no to a few people because I don't feel it's going to sit well with their energy. But the people who are coming on it, there is that thirst there, not about being a good medium, not about being a good healer. There's a psychoanalyst and a psychotherapist coming on it who've got no interest in mediumship. It's about self. It's about personal development. It's about putting foundations in to build upon. And I know the 3 tutors on it, Stephen Mager, David Powell and Lindsay Percival, have all got that same ethic about that as well. You know, it's not about teaching people how to make a connection, it's teaching people how to connect with themselves.
Correct. It's important.
Yeah. So Marion, lovely Marion. All aspects of mediumship, healing, philosophy, chairing standards, etc., comes down to personal responsibility, knowing the rules and ethics to protect only the mediumship, but those seeking. Yeah, personal responsibility. It's also experience, isn't it? I mean, my background is pubs, clubs, hotels. So I'm used to an audience. You know, I go on stage when I do that, and I don't mean there's anything false in what I do, but I'm used to that environment, and a lot of people aren't.
Correct.
It's like the people on the door here at church. We've had people offer, and I've just gone, "Oh, how about so and so?" Because there isn't that innate talent there to be able to approach people coming in. You know, I've had it before where people stood there and somebody's come in the door and it's like, what do I want?
Tim, if you're still listening, get that train and get him.
Don't leave. I'm going to look up this Stafford Railway because it's so vivid. The layout of it was just bizarre. Anyway, Geraldine, can you say something of the duty of care in churches?
And from what aspect, Geraldine, if you can put in from what aspect, because that's a big open question.
It is, and I think because it's not duty of care. See, we're the same generation, Geraldine. It's now something, and every church should have that in their rules and regulations. It's the follow-on from duty of care, and it's called safeguarding. Thank you.
Safeguarding, yes.
The safeguarding. And I think with safeguarding, if there's any issues, one of the first ports of call is to say, can I see your safeguarding policy? And then you've got the basis then to progress any concerns, because it says in your safeguarding policy, we will not do this, yet on such and such night, you did. So, yeah. Here we go. Anne Hampton. I've always felt spiritual unfoldment far more important than mediumship development.
I would totally agree with Anne on that one, because your mediumship only grows when you actually spiritually unfold. That's why we believe personal development. We're big advocates for it, because it helps. One, we spiritualize. We use that saying for Kip and Penny and a few others that are watching, that they hear that a lot. But it's that unfoldment of what spirituality is creates the understanding of your mediumship. So for me, they're both intrinsically entwined. They can't be separated.
I think there's something in people's understanding about mediumship, and this may resonate with some. It could completely wind other people up. But for me, mediumship is one aspect and one way in which we express our spirituality. Being a medium doesn't actually mean you're spiritual.
Can you say that again?
Being a medium doesn't actually mean you're spiritual.
Correct.
However, to be spiritual, you can express it if you choose, and if you wish to develop that ability, you can express it through mediumship, or through singing, or through writing music or poetry, whichever way you choose to express your spirituality, your soul's purpose. I think people seem to feel that because they've become a medium, that automatically gives them the little badge that says, I'm spiritual. It couldn't be farther from the truth in some cases.
In fact, if you look at, and this is fact, if you look at spiritual leaders, they've not always lived the most perfect life. They've gone through horrific things. If we look at a really inspirational spiritual leader, Wayne Dyer, he was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. He was in the services. He took people's lives.
His mum was an alcoholic. He was abandoned.
Correct. And lots of things. But through those experiences, he learned. And he educated, and he can be one of the biggest spiritual inspirers of this century, and even still today, and he's passed to the spirit world. His recordings, his books are still teaching people. So we, in some ways, have to go through these experiences of life to understand what spirituality is. And we can't just go into mediumship and then just say, well, I'm a spiritual being. No.
We actually had, during the pandemic, I think we set light to something that was very flammable. We did a post about what's the difference between a medium and a spiritual medium. And
oh my God, did we get jumped on? Did we?
It was meant to do that. There's no point having a conversation if everybody's going to agree on it. And there was some that agreed and some that didn't. But for me, I'm very clear on that a medium is not always spiritual. We know lots of people that are working for the spirit world and serving our churches who haven't yet developed to the level of spirituality that they could or will given time. But that's not to say they're not a medium. But the more we're able to convey that spirituality, the more proficient our mediumship will be, because we'll have an understanding of the human race and a humility about our own place. And humility tends to check the ego, not always, but tends to check the ego. So there's something to be said about developing into a medium and wanting to not do the other part. It's a really sad occasion when I see somebody wanting to try and get to be the medium so quickly without taking the journey of that unfolding process.
Sometimes, though, I think that we don't help ourselves. I'm going to use that word movement, even though I said before, sometimes within the movement, we see people jumping on others because they've not used the right word or the right in the right syllabus or whichever, and sometimes I think it's uncalled for. So I think there's a real need for spiritualization and people coming together and working together. I think that's the best way that I can politely say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely, totally. Excuse me 1 second.
As Kerry says, can you die quietly?
I'm trying my best. I keep muting myself.
You do.
I've had a thing recently, and I talk about delicate mediums, and somebody asked the other week, what does that mean to me? And it's where the mediumship is their entire focus. I did a great, and you can often tell by the posts, by the tone, I did a great night the other night. Thank you for coming down and supporting me. I had some wonderful, poignant message, and I just, when I see these things, I just think, that's interesting. That is interesting. I wonder when the spirit world are going to turn around and say, okay, so you don't need us, so we'll just step back and off you go.
Yeah. I saw one of those posts, it's many years ago, the name's irrelevant, but I remember seeing that post go up, and I know a recipient who was in that church commented on that post and said, well, it's a completely different evening than we saw. And I thought to myself, that's how it should be responded to, because only the recipients can answer and say how good it was or how wonderful. Yes, we can feel pleased with ourselves, and there's nothing wrong that you think you've done your best for the spirit world, not egotistically, but you've done your best. And you've enjoyed the evening.
But you also have to accept when an evening or a reading doesn't go the way you want, without berating yourself and beating yourself up.
Yeah, which is a healthy thing to do, to go over things and reflect what we could have done better and what was that really about. But when I saw that comment, I almost applauded. I actually wanted to comment and say, actually, correct, it's only the recipient. So yeah, I totally understand, Laurie.
Yeah. We did a service at the beginning of the year and still digesting the after effects of it, and it's fascinating. And it was all the elements of a divine service, but in a different order. We started off as we would normally with opening intent, healing. Then we went straight into the mediumship. And then the chairperson, I ended up being the medium, and the chairperson was Stephen Mager. And he started to analyze the content of the messages and pointing out, shared memories from when that person was still on Earth to memories now of after their passing, to show that they are still part of our life. Then we had a testimony part, which was somebody who's been coming here developing in circle. They got up and just said, what the changes are they've noticed in themselves, what the improvements are and everything. And then finish on the philosophy. And do you know what? That was an incredibly powerful service.
Mm-hmm. I think I know the service you're talking about.
Yeah, it was incredibly powerful. Even down to at the end, after the service, the conversational points were totally different from a normal Sunday, because it brought people in more. I loved it, obviously, with the educational side of it. And yourself, when you're working afterwards, for somebody to start to dissect what you've been saying, not every medium's going to like that.
Correct. And we have to put it in its context. What you're talking about is absolutely incredible. And it's something that we promote within all our students, within our classes, within the frameworks, within our competencies, where we talk about that aspect, where it's okay, let's look at what happened in that context. Let's look at the content of the evidence. Let's look how the evidence was unfolded. Then we look at, well, what did it actually mean? What was the purpose of it? How has it affected you? So these are all wonderful tools that we can use on an educational, but we also educate our students and people that we work with, and it's through our own experience. We also say, and it was a wonderful lady called Brené Brown, and you'll be able to quote that better than I will, where she talked about people being in the cheap seats. There will always be somebody that say they can do better, or
doing this without moving my mouth,
and all the rest of it, and they can do better. And if that was me, the medium, I would do this. Well, they're not stood in your shoes at that exact moment. You can do it in a second, my dear. I'm in trouble now, Laurie. Look what I've done. So we have to look at, we're in the shoes of the medium, we're working, we're receiving, we're being impressed, we're being moved, our consciousness is being directed, and we're going with it. Each individual person is different. Yes, somebody else might get something totally different, but we have to be true to that moment that we're sharing that contact with the spirit world. Now you can go over and
you've kind of done it.
Well, there you go. Get some words in now and again.
Who's cooking tonight?
He is on his own.
It's in the dog. It's in the dog that we don't have.
Excellent. But we've got so much scope here to bring, to me, every meeting, no matter what it is the opportunity to educate. Yeah. And I think we miss that so often. We just follow form and function quite a lot, and then anything out of course can be a bit, what the hell are you doing? You know, what are they doing? But we've got so much to offer.
Correct.
And it's you know, the light's being hidden under the bushel a little bit by it all, because of this focus and this predisposition just to the evidential. Somebody said to me on a talk show the other week, I said, well, I think Lawrence doesn't like evidential mediumship. I said, I do like evidential mediumship. I don't want to diet of it 24/7. Yeah, I like coffee ice cream.
Yep.
But I have it once a week. I don't have it every day because it's too damned expensive. But anyway, you know, we have, and we've got people, yourselves, there's other people, there's people in the room tonight, people who will be watching this later online. We have those people with that vision and that passion, you know,
yeah,
and
we do.
potential.
There's something that Phil's spoken about, and I'm going to use the Brené Brown, but it's in a way of bringing mediums together. And I do believe at some point the spirit world will make this happen, whether it's in my lifetime or whether it's afterwards. So Brené Brown is a fantastic speaker and writer and motivator. Anybody that's not heard of her, look her up. She's got incredible YouTube videos, and she talks about bravery. And I'll paraphrase and shorten it, but in relation to mediums, it is pretty on the button. She says, if you're in the arena on the chairs watching me, then you're in the cheap seats. Unless you're actually in the arena with me, getting your butt kicked and making a difference and standing up for what you believe in, then I am not interested in what you're shouting at me from the cheap seats up there, because they go back to the gladiators. They were doing this, and oh, you should have done this and you should have done that. There's a lot of that happened between students, but also between tutors that are questioning and debating. If we can move to us all being in the arena, all getting our butts kicked by those that can't do or don't have the ethics and the standards that we do, then we're I would think globally we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, but it needs for everybody to trust that we're working for the same outcome and the same aim. We all have one boss. We all have one creative force that we believe is directing this. Why can't we all not work together on it? Not saying that we don't have our own work and our own courses and our own teachings, but if we could get wider minded globally, I think there's something large that could happen.
I think there's something that Kerry said there, and something you also said, Laurie, about coming together and working together. And that thought is, we have a really good friend in America, wonderful medium, really good medium. And he used to live in the UK, he's from the UK. And he turned around and said, well, what you're talking about right now is the British mentality. Do something different that's not of the norm, not of the structure, and you get shot for it, or you get chastised for it because it's not of the norm. He says, but yet in America, where I've got more freedom, my mediumship is flourishing. It's more natural. The evidence is flowing, and it's a completely different way of working. And he said, even down to the people are wishing me every success, and they want to be part of it. But he says, when I come home and work, people are putting me down because I am successful and working in a way. Yeah. And it's almost like a fear that they're being left behind.
His words, you've just jogged my memory. His words were, in the States, people allow me to do different things in a hope that they can get something from it and continue that. In Britain, people don't like it because they're scared that you'll leave them behind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's true.
It's that poppy syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're getting too big, snip.
Why? I don't understand it.
We've got 3 American mediums coming to Poole. It was a friend of a friend said, you need to go to Poole. Laurie will look after you. Thanks, Elaine.
There's a hospital close by.
Yes. And I must admit, at first, I was a little bit, not sure about this. And I thought, Lawrence, what are you scared of? It's going to be different. It's going to be the American side of mediumship. It's something people haven't seen, haven't experienced it. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. And it really is as easy as that. You know, our approach to new things, you know, where thought goes, energy follows. So if we go looking for thought, guess what? Guess what?
There is space for everything. When Americans come here, it brings something different. We're at Lilydale later this year, and we'll take something different there. It's not about valuing or questioning or pointing fingers. It's about appreciating difference and seeing if you can take anything from what you see that adds to your own mediumship.
There was a wonderful gentleman, and like you said before, we're reverends, we're ministers of the Sarasota Center of Light in Florida. And there was a wonderful gentleman speaking there. He was a mathematician. And when I first heard he was a mathematician, he was coming to speak, I thought, oh, this is going to be different. But my tone wasn't in a positive way. But actually, I sat through it, and I've never been so inspired in my life. He described consciousness through mathematics. And this guy, the intellect of this gentleman was incredible. I think he's up there with one of the cleverest men in the world, if not the cleverest. I can't remember his name. He's from Montana. But when he spoke, it was absolutely brilliant. And I thought, you know what? This is what we're missing. This new thoughts, new understandings of consciousness. And I've listened to other lectures by him on consciousness, and it's phenomenal.
He described how, he didn't call it the spirit world, but he described how the spirit, an invisible world, could exist because of all of the universal, what's visible. Our visible world is this size, and yet there's this much. We know that in spiritualism. But he was describing it scientifically and almost proving that there could be a world that we couldn't see, hear, or feel.
But he was so plausible in his delivery of, he says, well, we're bound by space and time, and those logistics, and we can't go past that because science won't. He says, but think about how things were created: the light bulb, the telephone, the rockets, the steamships, the trains, everything that we've got today, the computers. He said it had to be somebody's imagination. So in other words, there's part of our consciousness that we've not tapped into. So we have to be open-minded to open the consciousness to different ways of thought. And I think this is what spiritualism needs to move it forward, to become a movement again, is to get these speakers in to educate people and get people inspired in the moment to have new thoughts that create new ideas, that we can go into our imaginations and we can create new understandings.
But if we look at spiritualism and the science part, that part of the three, scientifically, what's new than was there before? Unless something huge has happened in the last month or so, there's so much scientific studies happening out there on consciousness, on understanding, on how the brain works, we were talking earlier on about how we can quickly program our brain to lose the way it works within 8 weeks of scrolling, and it takes 8 weeks to train ourselves differently. These are things that we should be looking at and using to explain how mediumship works, how the part of our brain works that can sense the unseen and scientifically explain it.
We have no excuses really, because there are psychical research units out there. For a short time, I was involved with the Scottish one, and I got to meet a wonderful gentleman called Nick Kyle. He was the president at the time. He was showing me videos of the spirit world. He was showing me investigations that they'd done on behalf of the spirit world, the communications through telephones and emails. It was mind-blowing. Where is all that today in spiritualism? Yeah. Why does it have to be a separate organization? So there is avenue. There are people making footsteps. It needs to be brought in.
That's what I mean, everybody coming together.
Everybody coming together. I think that, for me, is exciting. So if we think about the ethics, codes of conduct, new situations of working together, science is brought in, psychical researches, accreditation, that to me is exciting. That to me is modern. That to me is going to meet the needs of today. But
no one or two mediums can achieve that all on their own. No one organization can achieve that on their own. But you go all around the different countries, and each of those countries, there are at least 2 or 3 different organizations. Bring all these people together and look what we could achieve, that we can leave the mediums of the 2100s, the 2150, all of those years ahead, so that we don't lose what we're already talking about in the past. Mediumship doesn't exist the way it used to. We don't want this to become a dinosaur and to be referring to it because it's completely extinct.
In fact, I don't think we can say that today, because it was a conversation with a lovely medium from the Northwest who's been in spiritualism for a long time, taught at big organizations. I asked him quite a blunt question, where I said to him, I said, what was mediumship like back in the day? Because all I hear is, oh, it's not the same as it was in yesteryear and how it was. He says, well, to be honest, it was exactly the same as it is now. And I thought, oh, that really hit me. And I thought, we've not learned. We've not progressed. I mean, Estelle Roberts through Leslie Flint, if it is 76, that year, the data eludes me. If it was, then 50 odd years later, then we've still not learned. So we need to learn.
Yeah, and involving the sciences. Historically, science and religion shared the same platform. The division came where the laws and the rules of religion held these religions back for the art of control and for the art of basic education of the public. If you look into Judaism, the certain rules about what you can and what you can't eat, it makes perfect sense, because being a hot country, there was no schooling system, there's no academic basis there for people. So the only way these things could be disseminated would be through the religious text. So you understand that.
Mm.
But there is more and more. I know the old thing about if you get two pianos in a room and they are tuned perfectly, if you strike a note on one, the other one will resonate, will play that. One step beyond that, scientists are looking at a molecule that resonates and another molecule billions of miles apart will start resonating.
Yep.
When we bring that information back into our perspective, our view of like spiritualism, that surely underpins the thing that we are all connected. We are all connected. So whatever we are putting out has an effect, has that group mind effect, has that group energy effect. So does that teach us to be mindful about what we start putting out? You know, and
it should do.
Yeah, through these seeds and nuggets, through sciences, they've got the potential to have profound effects on what we're talking about. Anyway, there's a lovely comment. Geraldine saying, I'm excited again for spiritualism listening to this. How wonderful. Marion, this is a really good ground rule. And there are laws governing healing and mediumship. Know the law, and our first rule should be first do no harm.
Totally agree with that.
Correct.
Yeah. And that is across the board, isn't it? No matter what you do, if you're greeting people on the doors of the church, to working in the higher altered states and sharing, yes, do no harm.
Yeah, I think that goes right across the board, completely, not just within churches and condoning actions and all the rest of it. It should be behaviours of mediums and all kinds of things. It should go right across. It really should.
Yeah. Lovely Leslie, lovely and interesting evening on many aspects of spiritualism and spirituality, also very educational. Wonderful. Thank you, Leslie. And thoughts out to you, darling. I really hope you can get back home. There's nothing like being home, is there, after a spell in hospital? So, yeah. Anyway, thank you. Thank you. We have waffled on tonight, but that's great.
That's good. I thought we were on till about 10. Is it cutting it short?
We're going that way.
And we look forward to being down with you later on this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We look forward to that festival. That the if you can send us all the details through, we will start putting that out and get it out to everybody. And let's see if we can get people from all over the world to attend. That'd be really good.
Yes, that's the wonderful thing about the rally, because we stream live as well. That we can engage with people much further afield. True. That's on the bank holiday weekend at the end of May. So that'll be a lovely weekend. 2 days of workshops under your wonderful guiding hands. The rally itself, the talks, demonstrations, all sorts going on. So something to look forward to there, as always. Thank you, everybody. You've been very chatty tonight, which is great. It's so nice when people really engage, because you know we're talking to people. So, but of course, biggest thanks to the lovely Kerry and Philip.
Thank you very much. I'm lovely.
You are lovely. I get Philip. That's what my mum says when I'm in trouble. So yeah, yes.
What it says at the bottom of the screen.
It does. I prefer my full name. Yes.
Okay, Laurie, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. If we can help you in any way, shape or form, ladies and gents, then please get in touch with us. Please do.
Wonderful. And thank you, everybody. And remember, you can see our services streamed live here from Paul Church every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. GMT. Tomorrow, you have company of me, which is I'll be doing a revival service. And I'm doing a series of services that we used to do many years ago within the spiritualism. And so tomorrow is based on flower sentience. So there'll be a talk about that, how it works, thoughts about it, and then a demonstration of it. So look forward to seeing that. But in the meantime, everybody, have a wonderful evening and look after yourselves and enjoy life. Yeah. Enjoy life.
Take care,
Thank you.
everyone. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.